Trend gray is an indicator that has each indicator has different uses, but trend gray has some functions that sometimes we don't readily recognize. And I have on the chart here some examples. I'm looking primarily over here on the trend chart, and under it is the power chart. I've got three daily charts in this one here, and I have the price, the zip, and the swing over on the middle chart, and then all five of them are on the right chart, or right right chart. Back over here in the when trend gray is very low, I mean, look at how low it is in comparison to the others. When it is low, it has a tendency to drive things up, usually pretty good. And when it stops going up, that's the end of the cycle. In this case here, it went up for 1 day before it went down, and trend gray went back down. In this example here, I'll point out, from here we had 2 days. Trend gray went up 2 days after this before it went back down. And so when trend gray is lowest, it has some tendencies to spring back up, because it takes a lot. You don't see it very often. It takes a lot to get trend gray down underneath the other indicators. So the other thing I'll point out here as well, while I'm on this, is on the vertical green line, you have the power 4 that are all under. They're all in this TOC pattern as well. As well as some others, I guess I should say, that the vast majority, and you can look at this as a lower right leg W pattern. Some people prefer to call them right leg W's or TOCs. We mark them out differently for different reasons, but in either case, when you look over here at the zip chart, I think, like when I look at red and gray, I think of a high right leg W pattern, which is indicative of a next day up. And so on the green vertical line in the zip chart, I think almost every line there is in a right leg W pattern. The green line is in a right leg W lower pattern. And Zip Zion might be right leg W lower as well. But in any case, Zip Zion and pink are obvious right leg W higher patterns. And so we have quite a few identical indicators that would tell us that this could be a gap up. But the problem that we miss from the gap perspective is basically twofold. We don't have a gap down in the trend red, and we don't have the typical pattern that you see for a gap up. Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. In the power group, or the power 4 group, the pink, blue, red, white, and yellow, you have two types of gaps up. You typically have power 4 all above green when green is above orange, and and then the orange and green are always close together. When you have the power orange like right now, it is 0.091 for green and 0.097 for orange. So they are with green being just a little bit lower. So Now, let me. I forgot to finish my idea. This is one of the primary ways that we see other types of gaps, and that being normally you see the power 4 above green with green above orange. When green dips down a little bit under orange, and the proximity 4 are under the green and the orange, we usually, I shouldn't say usually, we sometimes get power Zion in a divergent move in relation to the power 4 lines. In this case, they're the same, but we also have in power Zion what we refer to as the triple bottom. We have one here, and one here. And the third day is the green, and that is one of the reasons why things that we can see as a triple bottom, the value of the price would go up. We also had 6 days of red candles with a pretty constant battle going on, and that finally broke, and the bulls succeeded in moving that up. The proximity, so the thing that I'm trying to say here is the proximity group will qualify for a gap up. All the indicators will qualify, or probably will. I think there's two identical indicator groups that would qualify. I haven't counted them, but the down touches in the trend chart are not there. With gray being so tremendously far under the red or the green, that's a significant factor in its reaction to the situation, especially when you had a top of cycle right before this day in the gray as well as the red. And in the green you had a bottlenose down, so you had several different things going on in the trend chart which would alert you because of that divergence to a possible stronger move the next day. So the proximity group can be above the green and the orange or under the green and the orange. Typically, if you go over here to the pink line, we have the proximity group all down, all under green and orange, but power Zion is going up. We oftentimes see power Zion in the opposite move of the other 4, and we get a nice green candle the following day after the pink vertical line. We also have, in this case here, we have red. Red has trend red is at 0.16. It is just above the 0 line. So the red line, the trend red line, qualifies as going under 0, and on the same day, or on that day, that becomes the bottom and it reverses back up. This becomes a down touch under 0 as one of the 5 down touches that you can have. Trend red, green, or gray can down touch the 3 yellow, pink, blue lines, or the 0 line, or an area underneath the 0 line with no contact point. In this case here, trend green is also a down touch under 0, and so we have a double down touch there, and so we get a bigger average candle body the following day than we did in the previous few days. And so that's some of the ideas behind the trend gray indicator. And I also explained some of the aspects of where the proximity group is in relation to how it can gap up. And in this case, we didn't have a gap up, but we just had a monster move. I mean, it moved from about 680 to about 770, 775. So that moved over $1. It gapped up, 20 cents or whatever it was, but then moved up just tremendously. And there was a lot of contributing factors, a lot of additional evidence that gave us that support to a significant up movement. And it's in those conditions, it's in those contributing factors that tell us things are going to move. And sometimes there's a gap, sometimes there's not. In this case here, we didn't have the qualifying down touches for the gap, and so we knew it wasn't going to be a significant gap, but we also knew that we had a lot of supporting evidence. We had all of those right leg W's. We had that triple bottom in the power Zion. And the other thing too, I want to back up and I want to share with you. Note that on both of these lines, the green vertical line and the pink vertical line, that power yellow is highest. And it often works best when power yellow is above the green, like it is on the green vertical line, above green and orange, and the others are below. And that it work, but obviously all four lines are under the power green and orange in this pink vertical line example. But when yellow is above green and all the rest of the power four color lines are under green, the reaction seems to be stronger. And we don't necessarily see it this strong, but we just had a lot of additional supporting evidence. And trend gray being real low like this is a real good signal if you can find it. And it's easy to find those. You can set your trend gray lowest and run a scan, and it'll punch out every indicator that has a trend gray lowest. I mean, it's easy excuse me it's easy to find these things. So that's what I've got for basically for trend gray and those other proximity patterns that I talked about. It's effective, or it's good to be effective in understanding what these indicators show you. It's very important, and this is why specific videos are created. So glad you had a chance to watch. I hope you look at more. We truly do have a tremendous system with the three-step formula, the patterns, conditions, and signals. And then, of course, with the three powers of the system. The indicator power, which is the sensitive indicators, which are the heart of the system. The formula power, which is the three-step formula. And the procedures power. And the procedures power is basically the analysis that you make when you compare two or three possible choices and you pick one of them. The decision on looking at the different indicators is how you determine which one was going to move the best. And that analysis is called the procedures power. And that came way back from the beginning when we were developing the system. I decided that I had to have that ability to have some kind of recognition of identifying what market forces within a stock were doing at a particular point in time. So hence we have the procedures power. It's a great system. I hope you enjoy it. Keep looking at those videos.